Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Fortitude Baseball Consulting Podcast, powered by NSA and Brighter Performance Recovery. With me today is Devan Ahart. Devan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Joe?
I'm hanging in, living my life. For those that don't know, just a quick background on how I know Devan. Devan and I were training together. He was with the Dodgers, and I was with the Twins, and we were just like local hitting buddies. And eventually, basically taught me how to hit. So I just had to kind of get my feet wet with him, and then he basically taught me how to hit.
I mean, to be fair, you made it to pro ball without me, so
it's not about getting there; it's about getting through it.
About staying there too.
Devan, tell them about your journey, how you got started, high school.
I mean, I think for me, my journey, I knew what I wanted to do since I came out of the womb. In a sense, I mean, I know babies aren't really thinking at that age, but my parents played. So my mom played softball, my dad played baseball. I grew up around it so much. My grandparents, they threw in the backyard with me a lot. So my mom asked me at 6, 7 years old, "Hey, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I told her, just like any other kid would, but I think I really meant it. I told my mom, I was like, "Hey, I want to play pro ball. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I want to play pro ball." And she told me, yeah, well, that's good. You just have to make a lot of sacrifices. And she wasn't lying. And there's a lot of things that you're going to have to give up in order to do that and be diligent in what you're doing. And you also have to have a plan B. And she said, "Hey, what's your plan B?" And I told her I wanted to practice medicine. And that's what I went to college for. I went to school as a physiology major. And throughout my high school career and even before that, I just was grinding. It was always a grind to try to get into the best place to hit, the best team to play for. I was just fortunate enough to play for a team out here that had the best interest in mind. I grew up in the city of Detroit. Not many kids that, black kids played baseball at that time. It was football or basketball. So I could have been a football player, of course, but just following the footsteps of my father and seeing him play and seeing the old heads, as you would like to call it, the guys that grew up in the 70s, the 60s, playing in the men's baseball league at Northwestern when it was still vibrant, and watching them in the parking lot after the game, drink beer and shoot the crap. It's hard, but at that point, I knew this was what my life was going to be. I wanted to be that. I wanted to not per se be the hometown hero, but just enjoy life for what it is. Life is a game, and that's what I took it as. And then when it really clicked for me was my sophomore year in high school at Orchard Lake. I had a letter sent to me, and it was a pro team, and I was like, "Dad, what is this?" And he's like, "Dude, open it. I don't know, open it." So it was a questionnaire, and I think it was from the Yankees actually, and that was an eye opener. I was like, "What is this?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a questionnaire, man. You fill it out, and that means you're on the radar, kid." I was like, "Radar for what?" "Profession, you know what?" So at that time, that's when it really clicked for me, and I was like, "Okay, well then," I was already doing work prior to that, but I took it a little bit more serious by saying, "Hey, Dad, let's go to the garage. Let's take a broomstick." And I was just trying to do crazy stuff. Broomstick, no lights, and let's hit some kidney beans and pinto beans and see if I can hit them or not. And my dad had to put on glasses because I was destroying them, just from a hand-eye coordination standpoint, just to see, I want to be that. I want to be that guy. And then we would toss wiffle balls from a short distance, 10, 20 feet. He would throw as hard as he could. He didn't have a labrum, but still got up on me. And, we hit. And all my neighbors was like, you keep working. So junior year came around. and I got 20 out of the 30 teams sending me written letters, and I was like, oh well, what's gonna happen here? Hopefully this happens. So, and that's when it all became real surreal for me. And then I signed to go to Akron. I played 3 years at Akron, which was a good stepping stone. I got to experience college, experience friends, experience being in one setting. That was different because I never got a chance to do that in high school, and because I transferred in middle school, I was bouncing from school to school. But just in that sense of being able to be in one spot and grind and put forth what I needed to put forth to get to where I needed to be, that was when I grew up, and that's when it kind of showed for me that well, if you want to do it, it's right there. You just got to grasp it. So, and then my junior year, I got a call. It wasn't the round that I wanted, but I got the call, and I knew that when I got that call, the lights were on. It was time to go. So, 16th round, my name got called. Dad's crying. I'm just looking at him like, we haven't made it yet, dude. Like, don't worry, we'll get there. And I ended up my first year tearing it up, 368 in the Pioneer League at the rookie ball with all the greats that you see on TV right now. And I mean, I was steady throughout my career, 300 hitter everywhere I went. And at a point when you get up to that level, man, it's not about what you can do. It's about who you know, what you got, investment, purpose. It's a numbers game, and I didn't really understand that until I got to AA, and that was a real eye opener for the world and how it worked. So, and you know, I held a grudge for a minute, but to let it go and just say, man, it is what it is. You can't control what you can't control. So that's what my career was like. I played indie ball for 3 years. I went to Mexico before the virus hit, and at a point, I was playing for 25 years. 25 years I played. And it was hard to walk away, man. I miss it. I want to play more, but you can't, got a 5-year-old. So the little one, he's the next prodigy, I guess, and hopefully in the state. So we'll like I said, that was my career, and I learned a lot. And I would love to give it back to the community, because I didn't get that coaching that I got throughout my career, the learning lessons that I got throughout my career. And I think that's how I can kind of apply it to kids, to say, hey, how did you learn from that? How can you do better with that? So it was a good career, 7 years. I can't complain. Not many guys get to do the things that you and I did, right? So it's just it's a blessing that you get to enjoy it.
It's funny. I heard you saying like you were asking your parents to go hit, and I remember when we were hitting together, Emmy would always be like, "Daddy, let's go hit." Like, he always wanted to hit. Doesn't matter the time, didn't matter the place.
I honestly, for that, you gotta want. Like, I heard something last weekend. You shouldn't be a hitter if you aren't prepared to fail, and that resonated with me. Like, you shouldn't pick up a bat if you're not ready to fail. And I never thought of it like that. Like, I wish I would have had that in my career. Like, I can't tell you how many times. Not saying that I shied away from big moments, because I never did, but I get you get that pit in your stomach, and that nausea feeling, like, oh God, like the game's on me.
Right.
But I wanted it. Like, I wanted that moment. And if I would have had that in my head, those moments, they would have been a lot smaller than what they were. Like, I thrived in some of them. Obviously, it's a law of averages. But if you're not ready to hit, you should not pick up a bat. If you're not ready to fail, do not pick up that bat.
Right. And it's funny, because I was in the AA clubhouse with the Twins, and I was like almost the All-Star break, and I had the same coach, rookie ball.
Oh, dude, that's a blessing.
High A and AA, all three were the same coach, and he brought me into the office, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so scared right now. Like, I'm free agent sign, whatever. And he goes, what's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing. I'm just nervous, I guess. Like, my foot's not really 100% yet, and like, I know my back's up against the wall. He goes, wait, you think your back's up against the wall? I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, I'm scared of getting cut. Everyone's scared of getting cut. Yeah. And he's like, the second you're scared of getting cut, you're going to get cut.
You're cut.
And it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you and your, like, mentals.
Yeah.
It's like, the second I thought that, I was like, oh, man, I'm in trouble.
But just think how hard it is for young kids
mm-hmm.
that they're finally at the pinnacle of their dream, and it's literally in arm's reach. Mm-hmm. It takes a type of person to be able to arise to that occasion to say, and to be calm and cool and collected. Like, I got it. Right. That's different.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's security blankets that go with that. That's behind closed doors. But still, it's just like, hey, for you to be able to rise in that, and your life is in your own hands. It's not anybody else. It's in your own hands to an extent.
Right.
And you can control that. That's you put any normal person in that situation, they're not going to be able to pick up that bat.
Right.
Let alone walk on the field.
Right. So. And it just goes to show you how, with how many professional baseball players there are in this world, how different everyone's journey is.
Yeah.
Because with your journey, like, you getting drafted in the 16th round, and like, no, like, that's not even a big deal. Like, for me,
that's a huge,
who, like,
right.
My sophomore year of high school, I was barely cracking Fraser varsity lineup. Like, I was never had that. I walked on to college, had no offers. Like, me getting that call was like, mama, I made it. Like, this is beyond my wildest imagination.
It happens. I've had many a teammates. One that pops in my head is Tim Castro. He went to Ithaca College in New York. Like, have you heard of Ithaca? No. But Tilo made it. Like, he was with the D-backs. He made it to the big leagues with the Dodgers. I think he took my spot, really. But it doesn't matter about what you're doing in that moment. It's like what you're preparing for. Like, you got to prepare for that for the next day and the day after that, and et cetera, et cetera. But most guys get caught up in the right now instead of looking at the bigger picture. So, yeah.
Absolutely, especially with scouts in the area. Like, we had a couple scouts to Madonna yesterday.
Yeah.
And I could just tell, like, guys getting super tight. Yeah, and it's like, the higher you play, there's 15 scouts, and you don't even recognize them.
No, because they're in the stands. Yeah. Everybody is sitting in the same spot, man. Like, the lights go on, and you need to shine no matter what, even if it's nobody there. Like, you got to be able to night in, night out. That's why this game is not. It's on par with golf. No pun intended, but it's on par with golf because you got to mentally. Every night, you know you're facing somebody that has their best stuff, and they're trying to give you the business. They're not trying to, like, oh, well, I know, here, we're cool, I can give you that.
Right.
No, bruh, I got to make it because it's one or two spots that you're gonna get out of that. I don't know why people think it's so easy. Oh yeah, you're gonna make it to no, dude. Like, yeah, you'll make it as a roster guy, but you got to play your way onto the one spot or the two spot that they're looking for in spring training out of, 400 guys, 500 guys? Come on now. You talk about trying out for area code. You got a bigger sample size, but that's the hardest thing to do too. A lot of this stuff is popularity based sometimes, but if you're good and your bat plays or your skill level plays, they'll give you an honest look, but it's up to you to be able to say, hey, this is my career. I'm going to take the reins, and I'm going to go with it. But that's what I think sometimes coaches try to instill that in their kids, but they don't really know how to go about it. Like, one thing that one of my player development guys, Gabe Kapler, San Francisco Giants manager now, one thing that he said to me that I completely took to heart was, it's your career. So you have to know what type of player you are. You have to make your own decisions, and you are in control of your career. That's it. Those are the three things that you need to focus on. And then when he said that in a meeting, and I remember him standing there with his hands like perched. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, who is this guy? And that's the first thing he said. And I was like, oh, I got respect for him now. Okay, I get that. Yeah, then it's my career. I'm gonna make my decision. I'm gonna do what I have to do for myself. And that's when I went through my swing change. So yeah, no, I
I was
understand.
about to say it's a pretty hard thing too, because he told you that, but he went through it.
He went through.
He played. He went through it for a long time.
Right.
And you know as well as I know, in minor league camp, there's 12 different hitting coaches who all have their own philosophy.
Yeah.
And if they put their stamp on you and you make it to the big leagues, you're their guy.
Yep. And that's what they want. They want to put that stamp on.
And some genuinely care and some genuinely don't. Like, they just want to get to the big leagues just like we do. So it's very hard to be able to listen to the right person for you specifically.
Because everybody has. So in that journey, man, I've kind of come to a conclusion of it's great to take advice. And you hear it all the time. Like, hey, take the advice that's given. If it doesn't work, throw it out. But as a low, like, nobody really understands it. As a low draft pick guy, or as a guy that's not the guy that's on the top 30 roster or the top dude, it's hard to just take information and say, nah, that's not gonna work, because you get programmed in these younger levels. You get programmed. You got to be coachable. You got to do this. And we don't understand that you have to let the kid be who he's gonna be. It's okay to let the kid, act a certain way. Now, nothing disrespectful, but he has to develop his own persona. If he doesn't, and you make him into a robot, what's going to happen when it's his career on the line, right? Let alone in life. Like, I'm not trying to raise a sheep. I'm trying to raise a wolf so he can, slaughter everybody, But, and I think that's, in my career, I kind of fell in that. Like, college programmed me to be Johnny, yes, coach. You're like, yeah, I got you. I got it. I can do it. Let me try it. Let me try this. Oh, you said that? Let me do that. But then as I started to get into my older age of, okay, I'm AA, I'm 23, 24, I kind of have an idea. As I tried to transition out of that, it started to become a rift between coaches. And it wasn't that I was disrespectful by any means. I was never disrespectful, but it was just like, hey, I don't think this is my identity. I don't think this is how this is going to work for me. I know I got more in the tank, and you're trying to pigeonhole me, but I need to learn this, and I need you to help me. And you'd be surprised. They're not as willing to do that when you come to them to say that. And I really wish coaches would be able to coach to the persona of the kid and not the mentality of what they're trying to, the projected kid that they want, right? So I think as a coach, for me, just because I'm in that realm a little bit now, is to try to teach to the kid and not teach at the kid. Like, hey, this is what you need to do. This is you. This is how I'm trying to put you in this box. Like, I'm not trying to put a circle, like a circle peg in a square hole. It's not going to work, right? So I think that's one thing that I learned in pro ball. Is like, you got to be able to know yourself. And if it doesn't work, throw it out. You know what your identity is. It's up to the coach to try to put his little philosophy or what works in his philosophy into your game. So that's the hard part.
Yeah, and it's, I think, the common denominator between the best coaches I ever had were the ones that played. And, like, my best hitting coach ever was Steve Singleton, he's the reason that I skipped 2 levels and went straight to high A, because he stuck his neck out for me. And the first day we were there, we met, and he's like, hey, you skipped 2 levels. I stuck my neck out for you. You better swing it.
Yeah.
And any time I had any sort of hiccup, we'd go in the cage, him and I, try this. How'd that feel? Good, bad. All right, let's try it. Let's peel back the onion. Let's do another layer.
Yep.
Another layer. Oh, that didn't work? All right, let's never do that again.
Yep.
Never do that again.
Yep.
Like, mental-wise and physical-wise.
It's procedure, man.
Right.
It's like surgery. Mm-hmm. It's like surgery, because your mechanic is your mechanic. No matter what, because you've been doing it since you're 2 years old, however long you've been walking, holding a bat. Your mechanic is your mechanic. Now, there's ways of tweaking it in the weight room. There's ways of tweaking it in dry swings. There's a way of tweaking it in just a technique base. But look at golfers, dude. Like, they have a swing, and it's up to the swing coach to mold the swing into their mechanic, right? And kudos to your hitting coach to be able to say, all right, does that work? No, it doesn't. Okay, good. So I wish, because in Double A I had that. Like, I was going through a swing change, and oh my God, was I raking? I was hitting 360 in the first 6 weeks, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get out. But I hit a skid, and that's because I had a hitting coach that was trying to impart his philosophy into something that didn't fit into what I was doing in my movements. And as a 23, 24-year-old kid, I didn't know any better than to say, no, that doesn't work. This is not working. Let alone, I just take what he said and said, oh, well, he played in the big leagues, and I got it. Right. That's fine, and that works. But as that started to go on, I started to lose. Literally, I lost my whole identity. I had no idea what I was doing. I went up there with every day I had a different batting stance. I lost the barrel, didn't know where the barrel was at. I couldn't even, I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat. And I was scuffling. Bregman took 7 hits away from me in a Corpus Christi series. And I got to the point where I was trying to bunt for hits. I was like, dude, I need something. And I went from 360 to 220 in a matter of 2-3 weeks. I don't know. I still have dreams about this. Like, I was at a point to where I'm like, 360. Oh, I'm about to get paid. I'm about to make it. We're about to do this. Like, I had a baby on the way. I'm like, yeah, this is about to work for me. My family's gonna get paid. My family's gonna be taken care of for doing this. And then it went south, and I was like, that was my first time I ever struggled in baseball, and I didn't know how to handle failure. That's when I finally arrived. I arrived at that point when I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm hitting 220 and struggling. Couldn't do it. And then they sent me back. I was like, hey, can you send me back down? I need to figure this out because I need to go to the hitting guy that told me what to do. And then I went down to high A, and I was just destroying baseballs, 500, 600. And then I got phantomed. And I was like, what?
The old Dodgers phantom.
Oh, I was like, what? And Drew Saylor, my manager in high A, he coached me at Akron. And he was like, dude, I know this is not what you want to hear, and I know this sucks, and I know you want to get a trade, but we can't do it right now. I'd stay here. And I could not. Dude, I was like, what are you talking about right now? I'm on a tear, and I'm getting phantomed. I'm not in the plans. Get me out of here now. I called my agent, like, I need to get out of here, bro. I can't be here. And as that happened, it was actually a godsend because I was like, okay, I needed to kind of chill a little bit because I was trying to put pressure onto myself to do more than what I could possibly do. Like, you see guys hitting 500-foot bombs. I'm like, well, I'm just over the shortstop in the gap. And I just needed to continue to develop what I was going through. And like, just because I had success a couple of weeks doesn't mean I got to figure it out, right? And that was what I took out of those 2 weeks of me sitting. And I finally came back, and I went off. And 4 home runs in 5 nights, doubles, off the wall, backside jimmies. I'm like, what? Who is this guy, right? And at the end of the year, I still had that sense of I'm about to get released. And sure enough, the next spring training, I come in ready to go, and yeah. Oh, man, you did great for us. I appreciate everything that you did. You played great D, played great O, but we just don't have a roster spot. And I'm like, what? I'm just a 300. I'm a 300 hitter, and I get released, and I don't have a team to go to. You wait till the last couple of days of spring training to release me? What about my career? But that's the business side of it, right? So you can't do much about that. And as a coach, all I can do is put my arms around you and try to make sure that you're able to succeed in the next venture or whatever you're doing in baseball or life at that. So,
why do you think that hitters lose their identity? So for me, like, I was always like backside doubles, backside dinkies. Like when I was in the USPBL, I hit 9 home runs in 29 games, and 7 of them were backside. Like, it was like a running joke on my teams. This guy can't pull the ball.
Yeah.
And then when I broke my foot,
you had to.
My exit velocities went from like 100 off the tee to like 93 off the tee. And it's like, okay, how can I hit the ball harder? Okay, I can do a massive barrel tip and try and hit pull side jimmies. And I completely lost the left side of the field. And in turn, if I wasn't completely perfect on a pitch inside, that sucker was going right over the third base dugout at 1,000 miles an hour because I was that late with my barrel tip. My foot would get down. My barrel would still be vertical. My whole lower half's firing, and this still has to work backwards. Man, to get on time. It's like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to hit the ball 93 off a tee. It's a tee. Who cares?
It's a tee. Who cares? If you do that off a tee, man, you are special.
Yeah. But like, why did I change my whole identity? Why do people do that?
I honestly look at the social media thing too.
Yeah. I mean, I did it when I was hitting with the local hitting coach. He's the one that got me to do the barrel tip.
Yeah. But it's the flavor of the month, you know? Mm-hmm. Let's see how far we can pull this ball. Right? We've gotten away from the big part of the field because it's easy, right? It's easy to pop up a ball down 310, 320 and say, oh, yeah, I hit that out. Yeah, but did you really hit that out, or was it gravity that did it for you, right? You backspun a ball decent, and you kept it fair somewhat, but if you like true hit, did you truly hit that, right? So for me, I was the same way. Like I'm left-handed as well. So, you know, left center is when I knew I was going great. Like those my pro ball days of I would backside 98 off the wall, like not even for the launch angle purposes, but at a 10 degree launch angle, and that thing is just whistling past the center fielder, left fielder. I knew I was in a good spot, right? And then if somebody threw an off-speed pitch, that's when I would get my pull side jimmies, right? But those are like, it's just a mentality of understanding that, hey, if you try to jump out for this fastball, do you really have your timing, or are you just trying to gauge, right? And when I say that to people, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, everybody says you have to be out in front and you have to be on time for the fastball. But what does on time mean for you? Like, for your hand speed? What is on time for you, you know? And I had to understand that for a second because I was always taught, hey, you got to hit out in front. And I'm not saying that you don't hit out front. You hit out in front. That's obviously, if you don't, you foul it off, or you get LSU by you all day, right? So it got to a point to where I started to understand how to enter in the back of the zone, be proper through the zone so I can have the proper barrel through the baseball, extension through the baseball, right? And that's what gave me my bigger margin of error so I can make sure that I can hit the ball, whatever was thrown. If I was fooled, if I was late, and that gives me more play, right? But the hard part was trying to fit that into me going backside, because I was the same guy. Like, I was sitting on my backside, already spread out, trying to lunge forward to hit, and I had nothing to left. And I'm like, dude, I know I can hit this ball out if I knew how to move my legs. I wasn't using my legs, but I just found that if you stay in the ground a little bit better, and you don't jump out for the fastball and let the fastball do what it's gonna do and let it get to you. That's my biggest phrase whenever I do. Let the ball get to you, right? Let the ball get to you. You will be able to stay on whatever's being thrown, because speed is relative, timing's relative all day. It depends on how you load and how you stride. You have to fit your timing into his. But we're also gung-ho to say, I gotta go. And now we have no idea what our timing is. In any pitcher that you face, you can go up against Randy Johnson and say, I gotta go. And you still be early because you don't know what 100 really looks like, right? But when you start to slow down your load, you start to slow down your stride, you start to slow down the process of, hey, that baseball, the faster I move, the faster it's going to move. The more I start to load and stay in my load and stride out to a balanced position, I'm going to be able to do whatever I need to do, even if I'm late, right? But I think that's the biggest issue, is that everybody's trying to be the next guy on Instagram, or the next guy that hits Joey Gallo that hits a 500-foot bomb. By the way, I've seen that, and it's absolutely stupid. But
Buddy hit 199 with a Brazilian strikeout.
Right, but that's the thing. Like, these numbers in baseball, I get it. I understand it's about the investment of what you're doing, and the sabermetrics helps that for the club. But where's the eye for baseball anymore? You know, hitters are hitters. Like, if you got a hitter, he's going to find a way. And, yeah, not everybody's going to be that guy, right? But you got to be able to put the ball in play to make something happen, right? Because infielders make errors, right? So I think that's what it is. It's just a lot of I need to show my power down the lines and not show my raw, like what I can do in the gaps. Because, hey, you hit the ball in the gap, you can run for days. That's my philosophy. I don't know if that answers to what you asked.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, just a general conversation. Yeah. But I remember that year when I was really trying to just pull everything. I was trying to just pull everything, and Mitch Garver was rehabbing with us, and he looked me in my eyes, and I guarantee he doesn't even remember this, just because it was such like a subtle thing. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I got to hit the ball over the fence if I want to get to the big leagues, right?" He's like, "No, you hit the ball over the fence when you get to the big leagues with the juice balls and everything like that." Like, he's like, "Look at the batter's eye. You're a lefty, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Top left corner. Play pepper with it.
Yes, bro. 100%.
I'm like,
100%.
It's like, that's what I've been doing the last 12 years. Why am I trying to hit pull side jimmies now?
Yeah. The flavor of the month,
man. The flavor of the month. I'm telling you. And it was, I'll never forget it. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like, I mean, we were like acquaintances just because we were both catchers. So like, I would go over there and help with bullpens occasionally and stuff like that. But it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, man.
Why did nobody else tell me that, though? Why did it take a big leaguer coming down to be like, "What are you doing?"
Because half the dudes in the big leagues didn't make it past A-ball. And they're going with the flavor of the month. To be real. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I remember that, and I was like talking to some of my teammates, and like, "Yeah, man, so-and-so showed me this." And they're like, "Yeah, I mean, but let's be honest. Where did he end up?" "Oh, he played. No, he only played to this level. Let alone did he even make it. I don't even think he made it. But you think, don't look at a what's the saying? Don't look at a sheep in fox clothing or whatever. What is it?
I don't know.
You never heard that?
Never heard that.
Yeah, well, pretty much don't let the wool be pulled over your eyes just because you see somebody in a jersey and they're superior. Doesn't mean that they know everything. You got to know you. That goes right back to it. So when I was going good, I was leaning on the scoreboard and left. I always my whole identity was let me stay on that scoreboard, because then I'm truly through the field and I can cover the angle of the baseball no matter what's being thrown, right? And this is a funny thing. One of my hitting coaches in Fargo, he came up to me and was like, "You need to pull the ball more." I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm sorry, I can't." He's like, "You don't pull the ball enough." I was like, "Why? Why do I need to pull the ball? I'm living in the gaps. Like, I'm 100% living in the gaps." And here's the funny thing is, if an outfielder wants to shade me to the left center gap and thinks that he can like take a hit away from me, I know how to pull a ball to the right center gap.
Right.
I'm gonna stay through my left center focal point, but I'm gonna make sure that I work through. Like, I'm gonna catch that ball just a little bit early as I stay through my left center focal point. And there you go, right there and there's a pull, double, triple right there. I know how. Like, you just know how to do it if you practice it in the cage.
Right.
So, but it took, and that's what I honestly believe the 21-year-olds, the 20-year-olds, you see all these phenoms in pro ball now. They're God-given. Don't get me wrong, it's God-given, but let's truly wonder. Like, yeah, they have training now, but did they really understand what they were doing, or are they just going off of talent? That's the question, right?
Right.
I think if you teach how to do stuff properly with the right intentions, baseball would change. Baseball would change 100%.
Right. Yeah, we actually had a meeting with, who was it? It was Tony Oliva, Michael Kadire, Joe Mauer.
Yeah. Joe Mauer is the king of the alleys.
Yeah, Justin Morneau and Rod Carew.
Come on, man.
So it was like the coolest thing ever. I'm sitting up there fanboy, and we just had an hour-long meeting with them where they just talked hitting with each other. They basically did what we're doing, but in front of every minor leaguer in Twins camp.
Yeah.
And Rod Carew said, it's a pretty simple game. You just hit the ball where they're not. He's like, I would love if guys shifted me like they are in today's world.
Oh.
He's like, I swing a 34-inch bat.
Yeah.
I choked up an inch. I had tremendous bat control, and it gave me a little extra oomph having the heavier bat.
Yeah.
It's like, if they would shift me pull side, I would hit a triple every single time.
Every time.
Which is a wild concept because, I mean, even I teach it, like, with my pro guys. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, the only way you're going to get out here is if you hit the ball over the fence.
Right. But it's true.
It is true, but it's also why is one of the best hitters in the entire world ever in the history of the game saying completely the opposite?
Yes.
Different times, but.
No, but the times play.
Right.
The times play. It's just you got to. I think that's one of the things is why I had so much success a little bit in my pro career was because I had barrel control. Like, I knew where my barrel was at. I knew how to get the bat there, and I knew how to put it where they weren't. And that came from me being a contact hitter. And I wasn't a power hitter by any means in my pro career, but I could, if I needed to, I could do it. But the contact aspect of let me just get my barrel to the baseball, that's when I was like, oh, that 368 that I hit in short season was just me getting the barrel to the baseball. I've never seen 94, 95, but I was like, oh, I got to stay short. Let me just, and it jumped. I was like, oh. But now, like, the numbers are telling you need to be this exit velo. You need to be this angle. You need to be this distance. And I hate it. I can't stand it. When a kid's coming to me like, oh, what was my exit velo? I was like, I don't care what your exit velo is right now. What was my launch? I was like, yeah, you hit a pop-up in an elevator shaft. Right. Don't care. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I can teach you how to make sure that you can repeat your swing and you know where your barrel's at. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. And then you can come talk to me about that. Because you remember those days when we had the blast motion and we were like, hey, how am I going to do this? Like,
swing, swing.
Right.
Swing.
It's nerve-wracking. Yeah. But at a point, you got to be able to say, hey, I don't need this anymore. Like, I already know what that feels like, and I know where it's at. I know what I need to be at to make sure that I create that. And then it's good. It's always good to have numbers. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's great to have numbers. That actually helped me when I was making my swing change to understand what I was doing in the number phase of how can I repeat that. Right. But kids look at it as a immediate feedback. Like, oh, I need that. I need that. What did I get? What did I get?
I'm better than you.
Right.
I hit 70. You hit at 68.
But you're 13. You haven't hit puberty yet, right? Come on. Let's be real about that.
Yeah, we need to think of it more as a training tool, not the end-all, be-all.
Not the end-all, be-all, but when you go to these facilities, that's the first thing that you get sold on. Oh, yeah, we got this rap soda. We got the next greatest metric. It's like, doesn't matter. These kids, they barely hit puberty. They don't even know what they're doing in their swing pattern. So how are you going to try to give them a metric to say, hey, you need to be here when we're not even teaching them how to even properly do it?
Right. Yeah. And speaking of that, it's like we have hit tracks here, and kids are just looking, and there's so much value in it, but in its own place.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, the only time I look at it is if the kids get through the entire thing that I have planned for that day, the entire program for that day. And they have an extra 10 minutes. It's like, all right, let's get a tee, and let's try and hit the ball as hard as we can. Crank music, like, you know how pitchers do pull downs. That's kind of like the idea I've had, just to have fun with it,
and let it release. Like, do what you got to do, bro.
Yeah, like just try and hit the ball as hard as you can.
Exactly,
and just have fun. And then I'll hop in there too and hit it 102. But whatever.
Oh my God, you're throwing weight around, man.
No, but going back to what you said, like being short to the ball and just letting the ball do the work is such a valuable thought.
Right. And there's more to it. Obviously, we know this. We know what's more to it, but let's get back to the basics. Right. When I take the basics of, hey, let me stay short, let me make sure that I get my hands to the ball. But I know I know the detail behind that.
Right.
But when guys hear that, they're like, oh yeah, let me do that, and then let me try to do what I see on TV, and then they end up looking like they never played baseball before. 83 getting blown past, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh, yo, I'm trying to. It's like, dude, do you know what you just said to me? You're just regurgitating the information that you saw on Instagram, and let alone, don't get me started on that. But yeah, like, it's like that's not gonna play. That's not gonna play, and just from the stages that I've been at, you might be able to surface in college, but you're not gonna end up anywhere. unless you're just God given. Right. So it's hard, man. It's what do you teach kids? How do you teach kids? Are hitters born or are they made? Like, which one is it? So
Yeah. And just taking this in a different direction, like with so many guys in the big leagues now, like Gallo, for example, hits 199, hits a ton, but like hits 199, strikes out a ton. If he did that in the minors, he's gone.
If he wasn't the first round guy.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
if me or you were in the minors.
Oh,
and,
bro, I've been down the first day.
Right. We hit 199 with 20 homers.
I've been going the first day.
We're sent. We're going home.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Like, and it's funny because if you look it up, like Justin Turner, for example, like.
Struggled.
Yeah.
Struggled.
He struggled. Like, he struggled and, like, hit more for average than power. Like, his power numbers aren't crazy by any means.
No, big league balls are juiced. Yeah. Juiced. But you got to look at the era that he came out of in Cal State Fullerton, too. Like,
right.
He had the BESR bats.
Missed those.
Oh, my God. Dude, we did a home run derby at the college that I'm coaching at. They took those out. Let me just reiterate this. This trampoline effect that I saw off this bat, I was like, that makes sense why they said no. We can't use those anymore. They were hitting balls on the highway. And I was like, what? I was like, let me get in there. I want to see how far I hit these things. Right? Now that I know how to hit, right? But I think with that being said, it's a difference between coming from the aluminum to a wood. You got to be able to know what you're doing. You got to know where your hands are at and the barrel's at just to even swing a wood bat, right? But we get caught up in this whole thing. Like, yeah, I mean, I hit this exit velo off the metric. I'm like, yeah, but do you know how to actually get your actual bat without shattering your hands to 95? Right.
So for me, when I was playing, I hated wood. Hated it. Yeah, weirdo. I know. I'd never. The first time I used a wood bat, besides like the random wood bat tournaments that you play once a summer when you're 13.
Yeah. I
never really used one until my first college summer.
How'd that go?
I didn't hit a ball over the fence the whole summer.
Well, obviously.
It's just what would you say? Like a training tool, right? But like, what age would you start swinging wood?
I mean,
if you can afford it, of course.
But I started swinging wood at 8, 9 years old.
Did you?
Yeah. My dad put it in my hand. I had a Brett wood bat, and that thing, I swear, it had like carpenter nails in there or whatever, but it didn't. It was a hard maple bat, and I hated it, but because I would catch one off the end or in my hands, and I'm ringing. I'm like, and it's cold. God, I don't want to use this anymore, but. I finally, man, it taught me a lot. It taught me to find the barrel. It taught me how to be able, what it feels like to actually get one and then go nowhere. Because I was small, but I continued to use them. And that's what, when I got to, I hit, you know what's funny? In college, I hit terrible in college with the aluminum bats. I go to wood, I'm hitting 330. And it was just because I had to lock in. Like, the mental standpoint for me was the wood bat. I was like, I got this wood bat in my hand. If I don't swing this properly, it's going to hurt. Right. So I got to make sure that I stay in the right. It put me in the right positions, right? Your body knows how to move. It just, sometimes you just do the wrong thing. So, with a wood bat, I just knew. Like, I was a hitter with a wood bat. With aluminum, I can get away with cheating a little bit. Like, I can take this swing here. Fillet. Here you go. But with a wood bat, you had to be real. So,
right, yeah, and that's an advantage for you when you got the pro ball too, because you knew exactly what model you wanted to swing. You knew everything. Where I was just like, I'll take one of these and one of these and one of these.
I mean, you still do that though, because I called every vendor. I was like, hey, I got this bat. I'm a pro ball player. Can I get this sample? Blah blah blah. Yeah. They're like, yeah, we'll send it to you. Yeah. I mean, I was chasing like the best wood that I could find. I was trying to find a natural bat, I was like Roy Hobbs, like, hey, let me get that lightning bolt on that. So,
which brings up another point. So, Great Lakes Bat Company that I've worked alongside for a long time, like they're fantastic people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
they came up with this. You know what I'm
No, I just know. I've heard of Great Lakes.
Aaron is one of the best human beings I've ever met.
Yeah,
and he came up with this bat fitter. I want to say it. If I'm saying it wrong, Aaron, I'm sorry, but basically you move the little like donut that they built onto the bat to 5 different locations. You put a blast motion on it, and you hit the ball off a tee. I think you hit a tennis ball with it, but it's basically just to get like your swing metrics and swing mechanics. Yeah, and it like fits you into, okay, well, if you swing a 243, like this a 243, you should swing a 34, 31 and a half at 243 for your swing style. And like it like took into like time to contact and power output, and it's really cool, right? Like that's like completely groundbreaking stuff. That it's like,
where was he at when I was playing? Because
no kidding,
man. I think that the year that I had in short season, I was swinging a 318, which was the same exact model of a metal bat, like a college metal bat. But I wanted to swing a 243 because that was a big boy bat, had barrel in loaded, handle, and I was like, I think Josh Hamilton or somebody was saying it, or like the 356, the M356 with the big massive barrel. I wanted to be feared when I walked into the plate, not this small little scrawny black dude. I was like, look, I need something that's big and that has a lot of thump, right? But I also kind of had the hands for it too. So the 243, I remember in college I was swinging at 33, 30, and I was getting blown up, and I was like, this bat, man, I can't swing it. And then I finally understood how to do it, and the 243 was my model. Like I bounced from 243 on the days that I felt good. I loved that model, and then the I-13, because the I-13 was legit too.
I-13 was very nice.
Oh my gosh, man!
Yeah. You should have used Alex Kirilloff and Ben Rorvet are both in the big leagues with the Twins now, but they both had Louisville Slugger deals, and they only swang D195L. Oh, I would. Alex, come on, Alex, trade for me, please.
Yeah, you
trade
gave me that bat, dude.
No, that was Larnick. That was Larnick.
Larnick?
Same model, but I was just like, I got to get one of those. Like, I will do anything. Trade me.
33.5, 32.5, was it?
And something like that.
That was a log. But it felt good. It felt good. You got it around. They're like, oh, man, like, this is a heavy bat. I was like, nah, man, you just got to be able to swing it. Don't let the bat swing you. And I was swinging, dude. I mean, back then, I was stronger than what I am now, but that was I appreciate that, because I went down to Mexico. They're like, Poppy, it's too heavy for you, mucho flaco. I was like, nah, bro, nah. I'm strong. Like, just know, if when I catch it, I'm gonna catch it. You gonna hear it. So yeah, that's what that was about. You know how I am.
Oh yeah, with it. And I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but did you know we played against each other in high school?
No.
Yeah, it was. I remember it exactly. You were on the Oakland Bulldogs, correct?
That was in high school. That was my redshirt freshman year.
Okay, same thing. You were 18U. I was 17U.
Yeah.
Because you graduated in 11 or 10?
I was 17 at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my freshman year of college.
We played at Northwood.
Oh, I remember that game.
I was on the Chesterfield Raptors.
I went off on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked my coach, I was like, who in the world is this kid?
You were catching that game.
I was. I didn't know what to put down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like the first time I ever heard your name, just because going to Fraser, you don't hear Mary's kids, especially unless there's Instagram and stuff. Yeah. But back then there wasn't. Yeah. It's like, what do I throw this kid? And I was like, where's he going? He's like, Akron. I was like,
yeah.
Why? No disrespect to Akron. It did a great job for you. No. Like, I also heard you had offers to Michigan and everything, and then you chose Akron.
Yeah.
Why? Explain that to me. Which I love, because just because the top tier school doesn't mean it's the best fit for you. Right. So explain that quickly.
And I want you to listen up to this, because this is serious. So I always had that chip on my shoulder. At 6 years old, I was like the smallest dude, and I played 8 and under at 6, right? And I always played up, and then got to a team to where it was just like, we don't want you anymore. I was like, all right, bet. I'll go play with my age group, whatever. But I always felt like I had something to prove. By now, I always got invited to something, to a showcase and to area code, but never like made the team, to USA tryouts or whatever. Never made the team. So my ultimate FU was, I'm gonna go to a small, terrible school, and I knew I was gonna play. Like, that was the one thing I was like, all right, I'm gonna walk in here, I'm going to play no matter what. So I'm gonna get the reps that I need, and it's like, I'm gonna play the best of the best, and I'm gonna shove it. And that was my whole identity. I walked, dude. I was like, my freshman year, I was a cocky asshole. I was terrible. And that was the whole reason why I was told to go to Akron. Like, the Indians wanted me to go. They're like, yeah, we want you to go, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll go to Akron because I'm in their backyard. And lo and behold, I don't get drafted by them. You know, Indians. But Akron was the best fit for me because it was a small field. I wasn't going to get lost in the sauce by going to state, going to Michigan. I was already familiar with the Ohio area from me playing there 2 summers before. And I just knew that I was going to be the dog when I was there. It's like, this just perks up my persona even more. Like, I'm going to be that guy. You said, like, the coach literally told me, he's like, hey, you walk in here today and you're going to start. And I was like, say no more. Done. And I knew we were going to play Duke, we were going to play Pitt, we were going to play all the ACC, Big Ten schools. And it was my time to shine. Put up or shut up, right? You put yourself in that position. So then everybody's like, who's that kid? Right? Not thinking of, I didn't know about the whole conference thing. Like, oh, if you go to this conference, you're going to get drafted here, right? But if we play Kentucky, yeah, it was time to go. AJ Reed, all them, it's time to go. You know, playing Louisville, it's time to go. You only got to audition for a weekend, and you don't have time to mess around. Like, you got to be there, and you have to be in that moment, and you're facing like the All-Americans, and I looked at him and I was like, All-American, like, you only throwing 91? Come on, you got to come better than that, right? They're Friday night guy. So what? I don't care. My teammates are, he's not. I'm like, dog, he puts his pants on just like I do. I still remember playing Duke, man. I almost brawled with the whole team. I told you I was that guy. So I always had a chip on my shoulder. And then when I got to Pro Bowl, I had a chip on my shoulder. So that's why I chose Akron, man. It was about being a big fish in a small pond and people doubting you. And I used it as fuel. Like, you doubt me, I play this game for my life. Like, this ain't me just taking up a hobby. This is my life. So that's why I chose Akron. Sorry, man. I remember that game too, and I went off that game. I don't know what.
Oh, we were the 1 seed. I drove back up to Northwood from Holmes. Like, it was like the Fraser Fair or something, and my wife wanted to go there. And
yeah.
So I drove home, went there, and then I was like, I got to go back. Like, we're the 1 seed. Like, I got to go. Like, I have to go. I cannot miss this game.
Yeah.
And then we just got stomped.
Yeah,
by
I
you
remember
guys.
that game.
Stomped.
I had like 2 triples and a home run.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was a dumb game.
I went gap to gap. Like, I remember the pitches that you threw, too. Yeah, but
I didn't throw them. I called them.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I remember that whole game, and I looked at your outfield, and I was like, what are you guys doing? And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to hit this ball in this gap. Done. Really? Now you're trying to shade me there? Okay, there we go. But I just remember that. Not saying, like, I was that guy. I'm not like.
I was about to say, I love hearing this side of you because you're not like this at all. I'm not anymore.
But
like, you're a great guy. You're
I
not
know,
like
but
that.
Dude, when
So
I'm
it's
on the
funny for me.
field and I'm playing against people, like, it's bad. I do this against my son. He's 5 years old. And you know how Emmy is. He tries to pitch to me. Yesterday, we were at Wayne State, and he's 5. He's small, and we went over to the dugout side, and I said, "Hey, you hit a ball over the dugouts. It's a home run." So I'm throwing him cutters, He's like hitting stuff off the facade of the dugout, talking all that mad crap. I'm like, "All right, Daddy's turn." So he throws one. I take a little light. I'm like, "All right." I pull a little bit down on the ground. He's like, "Ah." I'm like, "All right." So then he floats one. I was like, you shouldn't have done that, kid. I hit this ball on top of the tennis complex. And I was like, yeah. And I gave him to one of the suck it. Yeah. But even to my own kid, I'm just like, dude, you're not good enough yet. Like, it's okay. I'm going to teach you, but you're going to take your lumps first, right? And that's how how Kobe had his Mamba mentality. I still get that sometimes when I'm just playing. I'm like, the men's league. I'm like, yeah, I'm smiling here, but I'm trying to bury you, and I'm gonna show you why you're here.
That's just how we were built, though.
Well, yeah.
I do that playing video games still. I get so mad. My wife comes in. I'm like, this is my competitive outlook now. This is what I have. I'm sorry. Kid just hit a home run off me. It's not going to happen again.
That's not going to happen again, right? So my dad's coach in his men's league out in Northwestern. I remember him telling me this. Your job as a player is to show them how good they are not. And at 3-4 years old, I looked at him and I was like, all right, Grandpa Holmes, I got you. Mm-hmm. And that from then on, it was just a persona of who the people were that were around my dad and how they molded me to just be competitive, just, excuse my language, dick, just bury him, right? It fuels me. It fueled me to say, I'm going to do what I have to do for me, and I'm not trying to show you up, but I'm going to show you why you're not in the position that I'm in, why you're not compared, why you're not written up the way I'm written up in the papers, why am I getting these accolades and you're not? It's because my mentality is completely different. Like, if somebody struck me out, I'm mad at myself. I'm like, dude, whatever. It ain't what you got. It's I got myself out.
Right.
And that's just, if you look at a lot of dudes in the big leagues, that's how they are, right? Professional athletes, we're not nice guys. We're nice off the field.
Right.
And some of the time it's a fake, but when we're on the field, bro, I'm like Ty Cobb. I'm trying to take you out. Like, I'm not trying to play a game. This is life. So, yeah.
Right, 100%. And we find a way. Like, every player that really gets there has something that just motivates them beyond all measure.
100%.
Like, for me, I had a high school coach. I went and asked him, I'm like, should I play football? Like, they made me kind of pick between, like, doing showcases and playing football in the summer.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do? And he's like, well, you haven't been recruited yet. So, like, I would just probably hang that up and just play football and just enjoy your senior year. And I was like, that was my whole thing. Like, my whole pro ball journey, I literally went down to the computer lab, printed out what he said, like, put it on my bulletin board. And, like, I always had it in my head.
It
like,
fuels you.
The second I get there, I'm printing that out of the newspaper and I'm slapping it on his desk right in front of his face.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
it does it for you, doesn't it?
And it's still just like why? Yeah. Like, why did he try to manipulate my brain like that? Like, why did he doubt me? Why didn't he believe in me?
Most coaches, they want you to do what they want you to do.
He was just my gym teacher, and I respected him at the time.
Exactly.
And it's just,
they don't always have the best. Not many people have the best interest at heart for you, and they're not going to tell you what you need to hear. They're going to tell you exactly what they want you to hear. Mm-hmm. Right.
That's where I went to my assistant principal, who actually graduated from Wayne, played football at Wayne.
Yeah.
We had like an hour-long conversation. He's like, at the end of the day, this is what you want. Don't let anything get in your way of it.
Exactly.
And to this day, him and I are still close. Like, we see each other twice a year, and it's like a reunion every time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Just wild. I wanted to share that story because I never really have shared that story publicly because
it fuels you. I know.
Oh, man.
Well, that's just like L.A., man. Like, they gave me a certain amount of money, and then they took half of it away.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they were like, you can either take it or leave it. And I was like, excuse me?
I have heard the draft is very unethical.
Bro. And that's when I had that chip. That fueled me even more. I was like, all right. Mm-hmm. So I went into short season, blew up, low A, blew up, high A, blew up. They're like, who is this guy? I'm like, yeah, you should have give me a look. Like, I'm not even trying to play for you. I'm trying to get traded. Like, get me out of here. Yeah, but it's the real, man. It's the real. Something has to fuel you in order to get you to where you need to be. Yeah. And that's my mentality was, I'm going to show you that I'm better than you. And I'm going to try to do my best to try to make sure that I'm better than you, because somebody's always going to outwork you. But, you got to have that between your ears. You got to have that mentality. So
I love that. I love that. And I think that's a good spot to wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Until next time.